All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to another CFS virtual roundtable. And today we'll be discussing Minari, but before we get into that, we'll just do a little introduction of ourselves. So I'm Beatrice. I am the CEO of the Carleton Film Society, and I'm heading to my third year in the media production and design program. And Katie, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name's Katie. I'm entering my fourth year at Carleton. I'm in a double major of psychology and film studies, and I don't think I have a title in the Carleton Film Society.
Like an event manager, yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. So, hi, I'm Steph. I'm one of the members as well of the Carleton Film Society, and I'm entering my fourth year in communications and media studies and in film studies. So it's exciting. Almost done university. So here we go. Today we're going to talk about Minari. So Beatrice, do you want to just introduce us what that movie's all about?
Yeah, so I have a little description. So Minari is about a Korean American family moving to an Arkansas farm in search of their own American dream. Amidst the challenges of this new life in the strange and rugged Ozarks, they discover the undeniable resilience of family and what it really means to make a home. All right, so I guess we'll be going into more spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, pause now and then come back when you've seen it. And yeah, we'll just go into our first thoughts of the movie. So, Steph, what did you think about this film?
I really liked it. I watched it about 2-3 months ago, and it was just, a happy film. I felt so heartfelt at the end. I was like, wow, like this was a nice experience. I was expecting a little bit more coming into it just because of all the praises and everything about it. And I was just expecting a little bit more about Asian representation, a little bit more about just a little bit more, something. I didn't expect it to be so simple. I expected it to be a little bit more on the deeper side, but maybe it's just the deep things are in the simple things. I guess I'll go into that a little bit further on, but yeah, that's kind of my first thoughts. I was just expecting a little bit more, but I really enjoyed it overall. What about you, Katie?
I definitely agreed. I watched the trailer and I saw all of the not like the spoilers, but like reviews about it, and everyone was talking about how amazing it was. And then when I watched it, I also found that it was really simple. It was really nice, though. It did make me feel it made me feel a little bit like excited for the future, just for like the family and everything like that. But it definitely did feel kind of short, or like it might have been missing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with like both of you. I love the movie as well. I think it was very different instead of like showing, some movies it's like it's a vibe kind of movie, but this one's kind of like it shows more of it has a little bit of plot in there. But yeah, with the Asian American experience, I guess it's like lacking a little bit, but the director even talks about nostalgia versus looking forward in the future. So I'm liking like all these films that like kind of touches on like the Asian American experience, whether you're looking back on how to like still remain and have that Asian identity in you, but then you're also trying to go into the future and you're in this new environment and you're trying to kind of settle in and adapt in this different culture. So there's like that battle with identity. So I think it touches on that as well in the film as well, like and I love that kind of idea in many films. I don't know if you've heard of, like Double Happiness, The Half of It, The Farewell. So along with Minari, like that's one of the things that stuck out with me the most of how can you like balance those two identities in you in this new environment.
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up because I think that's what the movie's mainly about. But I was kind of expecting it to be like kind of like the Crazy Rich Asian bandwagon and the Farewell and all the movies that you've just mentioned. And I was expecting kind of this identity, looking for your identity. But I didn't feel like there was a lot of parts about it, but I didn't think like there was an answer to it in the end that I was expecting for. Maybe it's just because I like the Hollywood ending closure, but I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more from it, and I wish we would have explored a little bit more in the mother's character as well, and why she was so frustrated and not living in the city, not doing all those things that she did before moving to America, and how, you know, the disappointment of the American dream and basically realizing that's not really an American dream and it's just living. And I feel like I would have liked to go a little bit deeper into that character and knowing like her struggles through it, because we did see that, yes, she was struggling with not having her mother close and not living in a city, but I don't know, I was just expecting I just wanted a little bit more about that, but maybe it's just me and how I experienced it. But what do you guys think a little bit more about like Asian identity and how it was represented into this?
I was reading a little bit about the director's thoughts on the movie himself, and he mentioned something about the nostalgia and about how the movie was kind of a coming of age story, but not of any one particular character in the movie, but rather a family trying to live like the American dream while also being Asian in a predominantly white area. And I thought that was a really interesting way to look at it as a coming of age story, because it definitely feels like one, but it's hard to pinpoint exactly who is coming of age, who is kind of going on the path to self-discovery. And it really, it's all of them. And it's really, it was really nice to see. And again, I also thought it was kind of going to be more along the lines of like the Crazy Rich Asians, like Asian representation movie, but it wasn't. But it also did it in a way that was so simple and so just so easy to grasp, whereas the Crazy Rich Asians was obviously over the top in a good way, whereas I felt like it was just so simple to understand and to grasp as someone that has never and will never experience those things. It was just very, very lovely, and I thought very well done.
Yeah, I was thinking this film was very like subtle ways that they tried to explore the idea that Jacob, the dad, had his planting his farm, but instead of choosing to do like, you know, the American vegetables, his daughter would ask like, why don't you plant more American like these vegetables, and why would you do the Korean ones instead? And he's saying like, well, you know, like a lot of Koreans will be like immigrating here, and what would they want? What would they miss the most? It's like the food that they come from their country, so that's what they want to eat. Or I remember that the church scene where the kids are meeting the other white kids around the area, and then the girl's like, "Yeah, tell me when I say like a Korean word," and she'll just say this. It's like, you know, like those kinds of things where it's like, yeah, you know, I guess they're not very exposed to other cultures in that area. So it's nice to like see those small moments where you can. It's like not very obvious as like Crazy Rich Asians, but you can like study those and you can like see, you know, little microaggressions that you'll find around the film. Yeah, that's what I thought about the identity that they had to like struggle to find, even like in the church where they're the only ones there. It's like kind of like isolating when you look around. It's like, oh yeah, stand up, and you just like look around. It's like it's like an awkward moment for them, and I felt that through the screen.
Oh, that's so true. I feel like that's what makes it relatable in some way. It's not over the top Asian representation, big letters. You know, it's just it's a little bit more simple and a little bit more like realistic of what it really is like to move to a different country and having to face those kinds of things, or even just being a first generation immigrant or second generation or whichever generation. And I think that's kind of what it shows, those kinds of struggles of, you know, people not being accustomed to knowing people from different cultures, and, you know, having the little boy saying like, why is your face so flat? I think those things. But I think it's a little bit it's funny how it kind of plays on the contradictions of, you know, what the kid does, you know. So he just says like, okay, I'm gonna go have a sleepover at your house just because I'm told to, and because it's what nice people do. Yet again, he just got insulted. So it plays a lot about like about human behavior, and I think that's what it observes the most into the film, whether it is, you know, on different motives. So it observes the mother that is, you know, frustrated, and observes like her motives and why she does certain things, and why the father has like such a patriarchal way of living, and how he wants to be kind of like the boss because that's what he's been told to do. And he struggles with that, but also having the vulnerability of being a father and be loving to his family as well. And also there's like the struggle of the young boy growing up and trying to understand, you know, how he can just find friends and be kind to people. And also the grandmother that's arriving into the family and trying to understand why the hell did they move here, and being a good grandmother to her grandson in the way that she sees it, in the way that she understands it and means it, and that's such a different way to what American grandmothers usually do, like bake cookies. So I thought that was really interesting, the way that was being shown, and I think it's all in the simple things. It's all in the simple ways of showing the kind of identity and representation, and seeing the issues of having, or at least the tension between, their usual culture, their cultural heritage. That's the word I was looking for, heritage, and struggling with also finding Americanism and trying to be balanced between having those two things. Like one of the things is when the mother, she puts $100 in at church, to give. I don't remember what this word is in English, but when you give at church money because she wants to look impressive, look nice, and look like she's a good member of the church, and she belongs. But then her mom takes it away, and she's like, "Is she crazy? Like giving $100 to church? Is she crazy? I'm gonna keep it for myself or something, or not allow her to spend $100 for church." So I thought it's just in the simple things like that, and I think that's what really makes the movie special. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like when you rewatch it, you can like see more like the different perspectives. Like you can follow one character and then you'll see like what their motives and throughout the film is, and you'll follow another one. And I think like a relationship that like stuck out is like the parents' relationship the most. It's just how Jacob sees his farm and his work as like a level of fulfillment that he needs to achieve, while the mom is more focused on like the family and how she's trying to like keep them together, and Jacob is trying to see is like, yeah, if like the farm doesn't go well, just take the kids, leave me be. And that was just kind of heartbreaking to think about, that sometimes he would choose the farm and like his financial success is being related to his role as a father. So yeah, even like the hospital scene where even when David is going to his doctor's appointment, he would choose to take care of the crops and hold it to take care of that before even his own son. So it's interesting to see like their way of how they think about what their purpose in life is and how they act upon that. So I think at the end of the film, it was very, I don't know if I like felt even like a change of their motives. Maybe he thought about it differently. Maybe the grandmother helped him out in that way, but I felt it was kind of like heartbreaking to think about, like as a father choosing his farm over his own family.
Yeah, and I think also with the hospital scene, that like really like just kind of put the theme, or one of the themes of the movie out there, was like her want to go back to the city to live a somewhat comfortable life where they're not doing like luxurious things, but they are comfortable and they have what they want. And then the father's line of, "I just need them to see me succeed in something," and seeing him feel this need of accomplishing something so that he can be proud of like the American dream. And I thought that was like, that conversation in the hospital was so important, because you saw exactly what their priorities were and what they wanted. And then in addition, it was also from the very beginning of the movie, from the second the mom says, "This is not what you promised," when they show up to the farm, to that moment there is when the tension just kind of like bursts, I think, because after that point, I mean, there's obviously the fire and that's very tense, but regarding their relationship, there's nothing tense after that, because they have the conversation, they go out to the car, they keep talking about it, and then they go home and there's no more tension with them. And I thought that was a very, very interesting way to do it, because the whole movie before that is tense. There's not a scene where the two of them are beside each other and it's comfortable. And I just thought that was a really interesting way, and just jumping off of the hospital scene.
Yeah, it's true. And the relationship is just, it's very interesting to see it, how it grows more and more tension until the fire, and I don't know what it is about the fire. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what was the meaning of it? What was the meaning of having a fire at the end, that everything burns and that he basically didn't succeed, basically? And, I thought about it more and more, especially before this talk. And I was thinking that I think it's just the meaning of seeing your priorities, which is basically family. Because the priority wasn't the crops, it was just the well-being of his family in the end of it. And this is kind of the consequences of him not taking care of the water, and that the fact that the family wasn't having water for themselves at that point. So I think the scene at the end where he does spend to have like a good well, and that they have the water that they need, and they didn't need to dig for it anymore, and investing in that really, I think that's kind of the point. It says that I'm going to prioritize my family over the success of my crops. And I think that was, I don't know, it was very telling, and maybe it was very subtle, but I think that there was hope in the final scene with his son when they're picking up the Minari, and they're saying like, well, we don't know if it's we don't know what's going to happen later, if it is going to succeed, if they're going to be able to sell it, or if they are going to sell it at all. And I think there was something hopeful about it in the end, just them picking up and spending time together in a way that they did at the beginning of the film, but that was kind of forgotten. So I really liked to see that relationship and that bond kind of flourish because of all the hardships that they went through. So yeah. Any other themes that really stuck out to you, Beatrice, that really that you'd like to talk about?
I think just you mentioning even the title of the film, Minari, the plant, and how I listened to an interview with the director saying how the plant is it's stronger after its second season, after it's growing second time. So I think relating back to the fire, I think it's kind of related in that way, where they will grow it in the first one, but it won't work out as well. And then after the fire, I think they grew stronger after that. And it was relating back to the idea of the first generation to the second generation immigrants, where the first generation will have to leave everything behind and sacrifice a lot for their family, and how when they come over, the second generation will kind of benefit from that. So it's in relation to the Minari burning and the crops burning, and then coming back stronger from it. So I think that was kind of a beautiful way to put it, that I've read. Also, how the grandma mentions that the Minari can be grown in this weird kind of damp places that people won't really usually grow their crops at. So I think my first thought was oh, is it kind of relating to the family, how they're being put into this new environment, and they're trying to learn to adapt and grow and learn to live in this new culture and society. So I was just relating it to those kinds of themes and ideas. But Katie, do you have any thoughts about the symbolism of the plant?
Yeah, I immediately when the end of the movie is happening and Jacob and David are going down and they're picking it, it was so very literal of going back to your roots. And then and then the song there's a song and it's called Roots Before Branches, and that just really has resonated with me, because the whole thing of you cannot go further and you cannot keep growing without having roots planted somewhere. And I think that really translates into their idea of what home is and what growing together as a family is. And then also what you mentioned about being a first generation immigrant versus second generation, and seeing both Jacob and David there at the same time, kind of picking it together. It was just it was very metaphorical, but also so very literal in the last moment. And I thought that was kind of tongue in cheek, but also very clever. And I just thought it was a really very pleasant and hopeful way to end the movie.
I'm happy you guys brought that up, because I didn't even think about that. I mean, that's brilliant. It's a brilliant idea. I didn't even think about that. But I didn't think necessarily of the meaning as far as you guys, but except of the Minari itself. But I guess, at least for me, there's one thing I really want to talk about, and that's the grandmother and her excellent performance. It's just out of this world, and I can't believe it. I'm so happy that she won the Oscar, by the way. But just that performance, I think, was so meaningful, just because it is what kind of brought the family together, and it did bring a little bit of silliness and a little bit of laughter to the whole situation that they were going through. And I think it really emphasized the simple scenes of David and her watching TV together, or picking up Minari, or allowing him to run, and going. It's just those little small moments that they've had together that just I think that's what's the importance of it. It's just that bond. It's not the making the cookies specifically, like David said that he would like, his grandma to do that. But I mean, it's more than that. Grandmothers are more than just there to bake cookies. They're there to like just bond and have a good relationship with. And I thought that was so well done. I loved it, and I loved the performance. But I think one of the things I want to talk about the most is like the meaning of, how she said that she would take away his pain, and that the next day she has a stroke, and it's such a tragic thing of the movie. Is the most tragic part of the movie, and that basically the boy is healed, and she ends up taking all the energy. And I kind of saw it as a way of like she took all the bad and took it for herself. I don't know if that was what was supposed to happen, or if it was like, pretty way to put that, but also a tragic way. But I thought that, I don't know, I thought there was some beauty into it, and I really enjoyed that. So what do you guys think about the grandma?
I loved her character. I think like throughout all like the drama and like the tension in it, like her character like brought like the kind of comedic relief that we needed. All those scenes of just like the Mountain Dew but piss control. It was like I was dying of that. Even the scene of like David like about to be getting a beating from his dad, but his grandma's just there like, no, not the sweet boy. It's very like those cute moments. You cherish them, and then that heartbreaking moment of like him waking up to his grandma like not being fully there anymore. And she really just like, yeah, she really impacted, even as a supporting actress, like those kinds of characters in the film helped the movie progress so much. So like her character was just as important as any of like the leading characters. So yeah, I was very happy for her win at the Oscars, and it was very well deserved.
Yeah, I liked her. I liked that she kind of just seemed to ease the tension of the entire movie. She was such just a joy to watch her interact, especially with David, who is also just the cutest little thing in the whole world. And just watching them interact and grow to learn about each other was really nice and so sweet. And then I also liked that kind of at the beginning of the movie when she's first introduced, she's kind of like an audience member in the movie because she's witnessing the fighting between the parents and the discomfort between the children. And so for a brief moment she seems like she's part of the audience, and that's also really nice because you are feeling what she's feeling when she's in those situations. And I'm really glad that they included her character. I'm happy that she won the Oscar because, again, she was just a joy to watch, and I loved all of her interactions, especially with David.
Especially that scene where like David was running after her. That was like I was like scared for him. I was like, David, no, David, stop running, but he just kept going. So I think like in a way like she even helped him to be like even braver while his parents were like slowly like controlling him, like kind of like scaring him to be like more cautious, more careful. But like I think she like brought out like, hey, you can be a little bit more brave. You're stronger than you think you are. So I like that the way that she impacted the family, and even like helped their marriage in a way too. And she helped them grow a bit more closer than they were before. So I think that was amazing for her.
Yeah, I'm happy that you brought that up. That to say that she made him believe that he was braver than he thinks, and I'm glad that you talked about that, because like there's a thing with the American way of teaching your children that it's just you always have to be careful, and you always have to don't be too loud, don't do this, don't do that, and it's just like she's just allowing him to be a kid and to run and enjoy those nice moments. And I think that was just like so human, so beautiful, and so simple. And it's just like she actually like allowed to create a bond with her son that I guess that maybe the way that his parents were, and how they were always busy and working, and they didn't take the time to create this kind of same bond with him. I think that I thought that was just nice to see that little addition of making him braver, making him into a better human in the end. And I felt that I loved it. Other than that, are there any other themes, at least for you, Katie, that really stood out to you that you wanted to chat about?
I think I mentioned everything that I wanted to bring up. I think my favorite part of the movie is just how well balanced I thought the tension was, and how it just kind of felt a little bit hopeless, but also a little bit hopeful at the same time. And it was not what I was expecting in the movie, but it was very nice and a perspective that we don't often see. And I think another incredibly important thing is to understand that this movie came out in COVID while we're seeing like people with losing their jobs constantly, or things are opening and closing. And then also with the vaccine rollout, we're seeing minority groups still get the back end of this. And I think just the way the timing of it coming out was also very powerful to see. Like, this was shot in the 80s, but it doesn't feel like that. Like, this is a timeless movie because I think it's incredibly relatable still to this day.
Wait, this was shot in the 80s? I'm like, what?
No,
Yeah.
Oh, like what?
it takes place in the 80s. It wasn't shot in the 80s. Sorry.
Okay, I was like, whoa, that's good technology for the 80s. That's impressive. We were talking before we started about how I was reading a critic that was saying that the Minari relied too much on nature shots and things like that, and I was like, well, if it was with camera from the 80s, I mean, hey, I'm impressed by those nature shots. They're pretty good. So but other than that, I don't believe that they relied too much on the nature shots. I think that they were just the perfect amount of time to reflect on what we were experiencing, and relieved a little bit from the tension, as you explained, Katie, that, that perfect balance between like the tension and the love and the simplicity and pretty much everything into it. And so, yeah, I think it really lightened the mood, and it created that balance. Like you said, it really did. And yeah, I think it was overall like a really great film. I give it like a 4 stars on 5, or like maybe a 7 on 10. It was a pretty good movie. So I really enjoyed it, and I kind of wish it won Best Picture. I really thought it would do really good, and I mean, it did do really good. I mean, it did get nominated, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it deserved that Best Picture mark personally. So what are your final thoughts, Beatrice?
Yeah, I love the film as well. I was also like rooting for it for Best Picture as well, but I'm still happy for like Nomadland. Like, either way, they were all like great films, but a little bit more for Minari. I agree with like your rating as well. I think like my letterbox said the exact same thing, or maybe it was a 5 as well, but still great. The film was just great. It had like a good balance, not so much nature as whatever the critic was saying. It was like nice and slow, but it was a good slow. It was, you can really feel like there was a balance of like understanding the characters in those like slow moments, but it was like slow moments where it was like, it doesn't feel slow. It felt like it really progressed, and I enjoyed like having to look at all their perspectives, and it will probably like change like if I grow up like now I'm like a parent, like you're looking at it differently as like you see all these films, like, oh, you'll see a different perspective every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the film. Can't wait. I haven't really seen like Steven Yeun in Walking Dead, but like I'm excited for more of his projects in the future. I've seen what's it called, Invincible. He like voiced the main character. That's a good show.
That's a really good show.
Yeah, it's really brutal with the kind of graphicness in it, but excited for him to see whatever future projects he has going on for him.
Oh, me too. I really enjoy him. He's like my favorite character in The Walking Dead, but whatever. I love him. So kind of the reason why I stopped watching The Walking Dead. Spoiler alert, but whatever. We'll get back into that another day if we ever do a Walking Dead talk. But thank you so much, everyone, for watching our review on Minari. If ever you haven't seen it and you watch it all the way to here, well, you can watch it on pretty much any streaming services, Bell, whatever. But you have to pay, obviously, until it can get into a free streaming. Oh, not really free. I guess Netflix you have to pay, but whatever. You get it. You get it. You get it. You have to rent it first. So I hope that you all enjoyed the film as well. And please let us know in the comments below what are your thoughts about the movie, and we can discuss even more. So thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.